Hello and welcome to Muse for You. This is John, your Adobe Muse instructor. And in today's video, we're going to be going over how to add self-hosted web fonts in Adobe Muse. Now, self-hosted web fonts are, web fonts that you've created yourself and imported into Muse, or web fonts that you've downloaded from the internet and want to import into Adobe Muse. So I'll go ahead and open Adobe Muse, and right up here, this is actually a self-hosted web font. This is a font that you can't find in Typekit. I downloaded this web font from chank.com, and it's called Chank Fonts. This particular one is called Tenderloin, and again, I got it off chank.com. And because it wasn't initially in the Typekit, I had to add it using the self-hosted web fonts feature in Adobe Muse. And I'll go ahead and show you. First, let's look at this text here. Yeah, it's actually called Tenderloin, and it is a web font, and I added it through self-hosted web fonts. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and show you the self-hosted web font feature in Muse. So I'll click on this, just to make sure I got some text. Then I go to the text drop down, and I'll go to under web fonts, you click add web fonts, and here the first one you'll usually see is this Adobe Edge web fonts, and you have multiple web fonts that you can select from, and a lot of them are really great. They're just really great web fonts that you can use. But let's say you find a web font that's not in the Adobe Edge web fonts and you want to add it and use it as a web font. Well, now Muse lets you do that, which is really great. And it's right here under self-hosted web fonts. You can see I have a few installed. These are all from chank.com. And to add a self-hosted web font, you click Add Fonts. And here it says use web fonts from your computer on your website. And basically what they're looking for is a .woff, a .eot, and a .svg. And then if we have those three, we can just browse to a folder and then select these three. So I'll go ahead and run through this process. It's fairly quick, doesn't take too much time. But in the end, we'll have these three files that we need for the web font, and we'll be able to add a new web font to our Adobe Muse website. Very good. And web fonts are highly recommended over system fonts because web fonts let the browser, or web fonts are actual text in the code that the browser can read and search engines can read. So search engines can actually read the content of your website because the text is in the code. And I'll show you a quick example of that once we finish adding web fonts. I'll kind of give you a web fonts versus system fonts overview there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with adding a web font. Again, you go to web fonts, add web fonts, self-hosted web fonts, and then add fonts. And we need a .woff, a .eot, and a .svg. Okay, so what I want to do now is go to chank.com. I'll go to my browser and just go to chank.com. You can see here Chank fonts. These are just like really amazing web fonts. They're just awesome. Some of them are paid, but look at this. That's just really cool. Yeah, some of them are paid, and he has a few for free. Some of them are free down here. So if you scroll down to the site, you just scroll down and you click on free fonts. There's quite a few, excuse me, here. Let's go with this Chumley web font. You can see there's quite a few free ones here that are really awesome. Very cool. So we'll click on Chumley. He should probably make a Skillshare class on teaching how to make these awesome fonts. That would be great. So yeah, we got Chumley, and I'll click download, and then I'll go to my downloads folder. And hold on, let me just close. Let me go to Skillshare, and I'm going to go to my web fonts folder here. So we have Chumley. Here's the zip file in my downloads folder. I'm going to place this zip file in my web fonts folder just to keep it organized, and I'm going to double click Chumley, and it just we get this folder here. It extracts to this Chumley folder. So we have Chumley underscore OTF. So we double click it, and we have this Chumley .otf, and then we have the personal use license. I'd recommend reading this license if you are going to use any of these fonts, just so you know what Chang fonts rules are, and license, what the license is on this font. Yeah, so I'd recommend reading that, and I'm actually going to add this license to the web font when we finish finish adding the web font. So here we have this .otf, and this file will install the font on your system. And so one thing to do, it is important when you have a new font to install it on your system first, because Muse actually wants to see this as a system font first. And I don't know if it's necessary, but it'll give you an error message. Whether that error message makes it so that you can't use the web font, I don't know, but Muse does give you an error message saying, install this font as a system font first. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and double click this chumley.otf. So I'll double click it, and I'll just click on install font, and now we have Chumley as a font in my font book here. So it is a system font, and we know it's a system font because if I go to Muse and I go to the text tool and I just create some text, so some text, or I can write Chumley from Chumley by Chang fonts. All right, and if I highlight that, I go to my text drop down and I go down to system fonts. See, now I'm in system fonts, and you can see here it says exports as image. Yeah, exports as image, and basically we're going to look for Chumley. So it's right here, Chumley, and then we can make it bigger, and there it is, Chumley by Chang fonts. Now what you'll notice is you get this T symbol here with an image. I'm actually going to leave this here so I can show you the difference between system fonts and web fonts. Alright, so now we actually want to turn this into a web font, and remember we need a .eot, a .svg, and a .wo, was it WOTT? I think it was WOTT. Let's just check. Add fonts, WOFF, my apologies. Yeah, no, it's all good. Alright, so to do that, what we're going to do now that we have the system font installed, we have the .otf file, we're going to go to our browser, and we're going to go to fontsquirrel.com. Okay, and then right over here we have a web font generator, so we're going to click on that. It's here closer to the right, so we went to Font Squirrel and then clicked on Web Font Generator. And then optimal you can leave as is, that's a good enough setting for this. And then here it says, yes, the fonts I'm uploading are legally eligible for web embedding. So yeah, just make sure that the fonts you're uploading are legally eligible, and you're all set. So just click this button here, and then click Add Fonts. And I'm going to go to my web fonts, going to go to Chumley right here, and just double click the .otf file that you downloaded. Okay, and then it's going to convert it real quick, and then you can download your kit once it's ready. And it'll take a little moment to process. And there we go, and then it downloads. Once it's finished processing, it downloads, and you can see it says 146 glyphs. So this Font Squirrel, it's a really cool tool to use. So there we go, and now we're done with Font Squirrel. So I'll go to my folder here, this Chumley folder. Actually, I'll go to my downloads because we just downloaded that kit from Font Squirrel, and we can see the web font kit right here. And I'm actually going to just place this zip file in the Chumley OTF folder just to keep it organized. And I'll double click the web font kit, and we get this folder extracted. I'll double click here, and now we have all these files. And the only files we need for Muse are .eot, .svg, and .woff. We see we have a few other files here, but basically, yeah, what happened was that that font got converted to a web font, and we have these different files here. So that's all we need for that. So now if we go to Muse and we go to let's just pick here or here. We just need to select some text so we get the text drop down. So we're here in Muse, and then we go to the text drop down, and we're going to go to add web fonts. Then we click here self-hosted web fonts. If it's on Adobe Edge web fonts, you click on self-hosted web fonts. Yeah, just make sure that this is selected. Then you click add fonts, and now that we have these files, we can just click on browse, and we can browse to that folder. So let me go to my desktop, Skillshare, web fonts, Chumley, web font kit. This is where our web font kit is, and here we don't select the files, we just click choose, and Muse actually looks in this folder for those 3 files that it needs. So once we're in that folder, we just click choose, and there we go. 3 web font files were found, Chumley web font.woff, .eot, and .svg. And then here it says, by clicking continue, I affirm I have properly licensed the above fonts for website use. And then you just click this checkbox here, and then click continue, and there it is, Chumley regular. And then we have more options like license requirements, etc. And by clicking this little wrench tool, we can add those other options. So right here in license information, I'm going to add Chank Fonts personal use license just to honor Chank.com and Chank Fonts. And I'll just place the license information in there and click OK. Yep, click OK, and then click OK here. And now it says one font family was added to the web fonts menu, and just click OK. And now if I create a text box, I go to my text tool right here, text tool, and just create a text box and write Chumley by Chank Fonts. And so they have the same text, all right? So I'm going to pick the web font, Chumley, not the system font. So if I go under web fonts and select Chumley right here, if I select Chumley, and now it's Chumley, and I'll make it the same size, 72. Now these look the same. The only difference is that this one doesn't have this T symbol with the image, and I'll show you what these both look like in code. So let me just put them one under another, and I'll actually make one red just to give it more of a distinction. I'll change the color of this font to maybe like this orange here. Alright, so this is the web font, and then up above is the system font. So if I preview this in the browser, I hit Command-Shift-E, and I scroll down, we see we have Chumley. So you'll notice a difference here. Like when I select this system font, it's an image, and I can actually save it to my Finder, and I can see it's clearly an image here. And if I right click and inspect element, we can see that it's an image with the alternative text Chumley by Chank Fonts. So Muse does a good thing, which is really smart, is that it puts whatever text is in this image, it puts it as an alternative text. So at least the search engines know what the image is about, and the image has at least the text that's in the image. But again, best practices are to use web fonts so that the text is actually in the code. Again, you can see it is an image right here in the code inspector. So yeah, this is an image. Now if we select this web font here and we right click and inspect element, and let me just move this over here and this over here, we can see in our code inspector that this is actual text within the code, and search engines love that because they can read what content you have on your website. So this says Chumley by Chank Fonts. So whatever your website is about, let's say your title, like in my instance, if my page was about Muse for You, I would have Muse for You in the title, something about Muse for You in the description, and something, some content with Muse for You in it. And search engines, look for a cohesiveness within the title, the content, and the description, and just some of those keywords to see what your page is about. Obviously, sometimes search engines change, so you got to keep up with how they do it. But definitely, it's good practice to have content within your page, because search engines like to find content on your page, and by having the text in the code, they can read the content. So that's why it's very important to use web fonts versus system fonts, because the search engines can't read an image or the text in an image. They might be able to read the alternative text, which is good, but best practices is to have actual text in your website. And here we can clearly see that the text is in the code within these paragraph tags. All right, so that's pretty much it for adding self-hosted web fonts to your Adobe Muse website. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.